All right, welcome to KMS Brews. Tonight, episode 7, we have Chris, visiting nurse from Rhode Island, Shank Fight Club, and Minifan Kim Jong-un. 3 legends with myself, Cameo Blind Mike. So, all right, boys, what are we drinking? Kim, let's go. What do you got?
I'm drinking a Treehouse Rover. They're Dunkel. Shank actually told me to try it. I'm not a huge fan of this style. It's a Munich Dunkel. It reminds me of Whisper, which they just made for their Oktoberfest. It is basically like a lighter version of that. Not a huge fan of the Dunkel, but it's good. I like it. I drink this again.
Actually, I should brew one. Chris, have you ever brewed, before we get you a beer, have you ever brewed a Dunkel?
I don't think I have. I think I've done like a Dunkel Weiss or whatever, like a dark Hefeweizen. But I don't know if I've ever done a Dunkel.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the same thing. I mean, I'm not even sure. I feel like I should know that.
Yes.
I'll have to look it up for next episode.
Slightly different. So you'll basically get just like a darker version of a Hefeweizen with the Dunkel Weiss. So, banana and clove flavor, just dark.
Okay. So the difference is they're probably using the same malt and just different yeasts. So a Dunkel will use more of a traditional American yeast, and then the Weiss will use more of like a Belgian yeast.
Yeah, well,
that's what it is.
It literally just means dark beer, so it's just a dark German beer.
Okay. All right, so enough about that. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Marriage Parfait. It's a goose style from Belgium. It's beautiful. It's funky. It's from 2013. It was on the clearance rack. I love it. I'll drink them all day. If I had an island beer, this right here. This style, at least. This style, let's say.
Okay. Yeah, you could crush those all day.
All day while I'm desperately in need of help. All day.
Crisp beer. All right, Shank, what do you got, bud?
So I also went to the clearance rack today at Total Wine, and I am very disappointed. So I went with an Arrogant Bastard Ale. It's a 7.2%. What tastes like a very heavy West Coast IPA, but it's also just really malty. It's not for me. Arrogant Bastard isn't terrible. I was just intrigued by the can because it's got a really cool logo, and it the can reminds me of like a Four Loko almost because it's 1 pint, 3.2 ounces. But not for me.
Yeah, I used to buy those $3 bombers, $4 bombers. I loved them just because they were so strong. I could have one and feel really good. But yeah, it just tastes like you're biting into a straight pine cone, with a ton of malt, and the next day you're shitting pretty. I guess you could call it pretty. So today I have an Old Nation M43 strawberry. So this one, it's from Michigan, and it's definitely on one of those craft beer ones that you might want to trade for. It's not amazing, but if you're looking for something more, like I kind of try to search for some of the New England styles around the country, just because I started off, in Vermont, with New England, and then moved on to some of the other breweries, such as Trillium, which I love, as you guys know. But, I just like to try different stuff. So I found this one, and I've had the regular M43, but the strawberry one was really like something that I wanted to try. So I found it. And it's on point. It's got that New England feel, the haziness, really nice scent of that, citrus pine, but then that nice tart strawberry as well. 6.8%, real smooth. I recommend grabbing it if you are from Michigan, around Michigan. It distros, around us. I actually got this one in New York, so check it out. But so we wanted to talk about, some breweries that are sustaining during COVID-19 and not distributing, which is pretty amazing. And one of the bigger ones that is close by to all of us, Chris is going to talk about, or he's going to start, and we'll move on. So, Chris, go on.
Well, Kim Jong's got the Treehouse beer, and I mean, they have always kept their beer in the house. They have never distributed it, and I mean, they're massive. They went from this little tiny brewery to this huge warehouse, and they've really succeeded. I mean, they have a ton of hype, and people upmarking their beer and everything that goes along with it. But they have thrived doing this model, and even a brewery that I have near my house, another one is Tilted Barn. Tilted Barn does the same thing, much smaller. They're building a big building, but they've never sold their beer. I mean, there's a lot of distribution in Rhode Island that's messed up and old archaic laws, but I find it very cool and very amazing. I find it kind of a jab to liquor stores and the jab to the liquor laws that, I mean, I'm not sure of mass laws, but basically just sticking it to the man. They're like, we got this. Screw you guys. They'll come to us. So I think it's a cool model. So I only know of the local ones. I'm trying to think of something more that's national, but nothing really comes to mind.
Yeah, it's tough to think of one that would be national that, is really is no. I mean, obviously it'd be tough to be national and be brewery only, but no, yeah, for sure. Like the ones like Long Live for me is one of the bigger ones. They don't distro. Obviously Trillium, we talked about them. But yeah,
But Trillium they've distroed. I've seen them in stores.
They have.
Like,
so they used to.
They're even around here.
They still will to the original people that. So when they first started, those few places, a few craft beer sellers, and a couple other places that stood up for them. I think Julio's was one of them. They still to this day will get beers from them, but they didn't expand outside of the few places that supported them way back when no one else would. So Trillium still does distribute, and it's not all the time, but they still will support some of those places that supported them at the beginning.
I think we just brought up COVID and breweries surviving like that. Trillium's down here in Rhode Island. I see it in regular old liquor stores. I mean, it's just a select few, none of their IPAs, some of their sours like the Super Soak and stuff that are just like could peel paint off a wall. But but it's still they had to do it, and I've been waiting for Treehouse to do it, kind for them to stick to it. Even the Alchemist is a great one. There's a good one that they would only go to a certain amount of stores in Vermont, want to be hyper local, and now that I've seen them come here,
Yep.
So
they did that for COVID though a lot, and same with Bissell Brothers did the same thing up in Maine. They decided to start distributing throughout the New England on certain occasions just because of COVID.
Yeah.
And on top of that too, Treehouse, I think Treehouse knows that their hype is so big that they don't want to be on a shelf. They don't want their beers sitting there and then people trashing them on Untapped or Beer Advocate, because right now they're king. I mean, their beers, every single time it comes out, it doesn't matter if it's a bad batch or not. Every single fanboy is going to give it a 4.5 or 5 on Untapped. They could literally piss in their beer and people are going to tell you that it tastes fantastic. It's just the way it is. They build up hype by that, and it's brilliant. And in all honesty, it's brilliant. And the way that they did it through COVID too, I was telling you guys this on the thread, before. The longest I had to wait ever was about 40 minutes, and that was when they dropped the Oktoberfest. Outside of that, I'd put my order in, and I'd drive out there, and I'd be in and out in 15 minutes. Like, you just wait in line, they bring your beer out, and you leave. It's unbelievable process that they're doing.
Jump in to your point, I think that's part of the appeal of them is that they don't distribute. So there's a whole thing about going there and waiting in line and walking away with 6 cases on a dolly. So I think the minute that you can just go into your local liquor store and pick them up, I think they lose a lot of that mystique and a lot of what makes them special. Even if the beer is kept in perfect condition and it tastes just as good, it loses a big part of what makes them Treehouse. It's part of the experience of going. As annoying as it can be at times, you have to be able to tell everyone how you went. You drove an hour and a half down there. You waited in line for an hour, and then you walked away with $600 worth of beer. So I think the minute that you take away that whole experience, they kind of just become another brewery. They're very good, but they lose a lot of what they are.
Yeah, I mean they're not a one-trick pony, but I mean they almost are. Every anniversary, every curiosity is an IPA. Every huge beer, besides now which I think Chris just got. Well, they're starting to do some barrel aged stouts, and their stouts are awesome. But yeah, they have it down to a science, and they don't have to distribute. I've gone there before, and I think the oldest beer was like maybe 6 weeks, and it wasn't an IPA. It was probably their bit extra special bitter, the Old Man. So if it's a beer that can sit there, they're selling it no matter what. Nothing is sitting over there, so they don't have to distribute.
My last batch that I got, every IPA was canned that day.
Yeah, their IPAs at least the most. It can't be more than a month. It probably not even. Yeah. That's like an anomaly.
I had an IPA that was a month old. It was their summer, and I was like, oh man, they're coming on shelves. They're coming to the shelves.
Honestly, I think a month is when IPAs really start hitting their stride.
Yeah, you got to give them a couple of weeks. And honestly, that summer is phenomenal. I was talking with Shank before. That batch of summer is phenomenal.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing with IPAs. They know what the hell they're doing.
They do not mess around.
What's kind of interesting with Treehouse is they do distribute when they feel like it. So I remember last year when Fish played at Fenway, they sent a whole bunch of Julius at Fenway. And, so I don't know if the owners are big fans or whatever, but, when they certainly do it.
Big deadheads, like shit like that. They love all that.
I agree with Kirk. I can't stand Fish or the dead.
Oh my God, Fish! I don't understand why people hate Fish.
I don't understand why they go, because it seems like a great time.
Oh,
like
that's what it's the ambiance.
My wife went to the New Year's thing.
Drums.
Yeah, but I'm just like, oh yeah, like fucking sing something or do something. We get it. You're
There's a reason why they're all on psychedelics. The music sucks. The only way you can get through it is on or acid or something else.
Even like Gig is huge. I talked to Gig about music a decent amount, and he is huge into Primus. I saw Primus live. They're great. I like Primus. I really do, but it's just too much for me. They're fucking fantastic. Musically on point, the offbeats, everything. I love it. But it's not my thing. Everybody has their own music. So
yeah. No, I saw the Mars Volta is kind of one of those bands that
I love Mars Volta.
But their live show is just like, all right, I gotta go to sleep or I gotta take something to keep me awake because this is just like
17-minute songs.
Is this the same song? We listen to the same song?
Nice. So yeah, I think the point of that, which we kind of rambled a bit, was just that we all feel that those breweries that are self-sustaining from non-distribution, number one, are saving a fuck ton of money not paying a distributor. Mm-hmm. Number two, have enough hype where people that just keep coming back. And once pours are more prevalent, even though Treehouse doesn't really do it, they have the stupid 2-ticket system. The other ones that do it make so much gross profit on it. As soon as that kicks back, it's going to be, nonstop.
Well, the distribution, it's also corrupt. I'm not going to get into it. It's extremely corrupt. And that's why Night Shift did what they did. Night Shift was probably the greatest thing that ever happened to craft beer because they went to everybody and they're like, listen, we're going to create a distribution company and we're going to help you all. There's been tons of allegations of pay to play and, people, large distributors that do the big ones like Budweiser and Coors that for the longest time refused to make any type of deal with a small brewery. Now they're all begging for it. People like Night Shift, they're the ones that did it. It's 8 years ago, you would never think that you'd see Austin Street being distributed in your local that's a very small brewery in Maine, and I can get that literally 5 minutes from my house. And it's incredible how much things have changed, and it's because of people like Night Shift. Night Shift, that distribution company, really changed the game when it comes to these small breweries getting distributed throughout New England.
I just wanted to say, so with the distributors, up until I believe the end of July, in Massachusetts anyway, it was almost impossible for smaller craft breweries to break contracts with their distributors. So they would have issues where they weren't being sent to places where they should be, or they just weren't getting any sort of priority. But the law would make it so it was almost impossible to move on from that distributor. So I know now that certain brewery. So if you produce under a certain amount of barrels for the year, you're able to get out of your contract with the distributor as long as you give them a 30-day notice. But I know from experience that there's a lot of places that where basically they would sign a contract with places or with distributors, and they were stuck with them. So, if they were the bottom of the totem pole with that distributor, they couldn't go anywhere.
Well, you guys, so I'll never forget this. Like back when InBev bought Goose Island and they got their hands on Bourbon County, I remember talking to some of my contacts, like, cause I was a beer guy. So I'd go and they would say to me, listen, we have to buy all this shitty beer from this distributor if we're going to get the Bourbon County this beer. And they were basically holding them hostage for stuff when they could. I mean, and that's why like distributors, a lot of distributors they suck. Like they screw over small breweries. And then when they finally got their hands on something that was worth something, like Bourbon County, then they were fucking people over nonstop. Like, oh, you're going to take on 10 truckloads of Bud Light in the next 6 months if you want to get Bourbon County. It was absolutely insane. But Shank's right. They changed the laws, and people started being able to break contracts, and then it kind of put the screws to some of these larger guys, so they couldn't do this anymore, which has made it better for everybody, in my opinion.
Well, Rhode Island is so far back. I mean, we can't even buy beer in a supermarket. The breweries have a case limit. They were only allowed to sell 2 freaking 4-packs at the brewery, and they had to fight to get cases. And they were like fighting with the liquor stores and the distributors. They're like, don't you see, if we sell this beer, we'll be able to sell it in your store. Like, you don't realize that people want to come and get our beer in your store. And it was the stupidest thing in the world. And that's why I talk about the brewery like Tilted Barn. They self-distribute. They don't sell in any freaking stores because they're upset with it. They're like, screw these guys. They're a big mob scene, and all they want to do is just like screw us over. Basically, they want it. They want the money. They don't care about us. And another thing in Rhode Island is you have to be grandfathered into a liquor store. You can't just go open a liquor store. You have to be grandfathered in, which is a bunch of crap. So there's only a certain amount of liquor stores. Like there was a huge liquor store called Haxton, and they had to literally change their name and put like somebody's first name in front of it because they're like, you have too many liquor stores. You can't do that. It's the dumbest shit. And it's so far behind. And I mean, like I said, you can only get like a case now. So
I remember walking into Proclamation early days. Yep. And it was like, yeah, you can get 2 4-packs. And I was like, oh, I'm lucky I have a buddy with me so I can get 4 4-packs. Yeah. It was absolute bullshit. And even a case is bullshit. So completely agree.
Yeah,
but we have to. Okay.
Tourism, and,
fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. No, yeah, I was gonna say, so it would be actually cool. Maybe we should reach out because Night Shift are pretty cool guys. Maybe, get them down, like get them on the show, see if they'd want to come on, talk about that distribution because they brought stuff like Austin Street, Battery Steel, Toppling Goliath, just these like a lot of the craft are going like Foundation are just going to them because they know it's more grassroots central. It's not trying to fuck people over. So to move on. We want to speak a little bit about some underrated breweries and stuff that, maybe are still only non-distribution because no one will really take them, but stuff that we really like, or maybe they are in distribution, you never know. So what do you guys think? Who wants to start off? Kim, do you have a really underrated brewery that you feel like, we should go check out tomorrow? Because I'll go.
So it's interesting you say that because, and we had this discussion on our thread, the difference between underrated and under the radar or underappreciated. Sure. And it's one of those things where I was thinking about this, like, the most underappreciated, brewery, in my opinion, is Brick and Feather. But, enough people know about them that, I wouldn't call them, underrated. Then just like you said, Battery Steel, enough people know about them now because they're distributed in Massachusetts that, they're not really. So I would go to basically Kingsman in Connecticut. They're in Southington, Connecticut. It's a really cool spot. It's an old factory thing that they renovated. They got a pizza place that it's in there. Serves unbelievable pizza. But they just have solid beers. I mean, I wouldn't say they're going to knock your socks off and you're going to come out of there and say, "Oh my God, this is a treehouse." But everything they do is solid, and they've done some weird stuff like a root beer that was phenomenal, and it didn't feel like you were chewing on candy and ripping the enamel off your teeth. Like it was good. It wasn't like that, not your mother's or father's root beer that came out years ago. It was a decent, ale is the best way to describe it. I just really like their stuff. They do a lot of things. They take chances. Like I said, they're not the best thing in the world, but I would, if I were in Connecticut and just looking for a place I've never tried before, I would absolutely, do Kingsman in Southern Connecticut.
I got to check them out. Shank, what do you think, man?
So the first place that came to mind for me is Dorchester Brewing. So I think they're awesome. They obviously in Dorchester, Mass. So one of the big things for them is they do a bunch of contract brewing. So they make their own stuff. I think they do a fantastic job of it, but they also contract brew for a bunch of places in state and out of state. So you can go there and try some things that they've made. You can try from some other local breweries that are just trying to make something on a bigger scale or are trying something experimental. And then they'll have some stuff from some other breweries that are out of state. So you can try stuff that, you never would have been able to find. They do, I think, an awesome job. So right now I switched to their Fest beer. So their Oktoberfest beer. I think it's awesome. Really light, nice malty flavor. Highly recommend them. They do distribute a little bit. It's not a ton, but definitely recommend checking out Dorchester. They
Nice.
also have a barbecue like restaurant / kitchen attached to them, so you can go and grab some food and kind of make a day out of it.
Are they still contracting for Omnipolo?
I know they've done some stuff with them. I'm not sure right now, because obviously everything is kind of screwed up. But I know they've done stuff with them. They've done some stuff for, I believe, like Radiant Pig. They've done some stuff for Idle Hands. So they seem to kind of get around and make some good relationships over there.
They did Noah, the Omnipolo.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is a phenomenal beer, and Dorchester Brewing was doing it for them, and that for me is like a top 5 stout. I mean, phenomenal.
Did not know
beer.
that. I remember. Okay.
I'm looking at their tap list right now. They're doing a couple things with Lone Pine up in Portland, which is awesome. I think Lone Pine's great.
Oh yeah.
So it looks like it may just be Lone Pine at the moment. They have a couple seltzers on, but yeah, normally you could go there and they'll have 2 or 3, maybe even 4 different breweries that they'll have there. So you can go in and try a few different things. So I definitely recommend them.
Oh, Kim, thank you for bringing up Noah. That beer was phenomenal. It wasn't even that expensive either. It was sitting on shelves, and yeah, I picked it up because I saw Omnipolo. That one blew me away. So, Chris, what do you got, man? What do you think?
I got a couple. I think I talk about them a lot in the thread, but Mayflower, I think, is a great brewery. I think a lot of breweries that don't fall into that, like we're making big New England IPAs and following the trends. I think we talk a lot about Von Trapp too. I have a Trost in here. Von Trapp makes excellent lagers, and they do not stray from it. That's like their thing. They're in IPA country over there with the Alchemist and Foam Brewery, and I think they're very underrated. They're very distributed. You can get them like anywhere, and they always get high ratings, but they're not knocking down doors for it. Just like Mayflower, I think they make very solid, just regular styles. Like their porter is freaking awesome. Their porter's really good. They're summer seasonal. Their IPAs are just like, they're okay. They make a Thanksgiving ale that I look forward to every year.
Yeah. That's
really, really good. And like I said, they're a regularly distributed brewery. You see them on a shelf and passing by, but they really just put out solid stuff. I was trying to think of one more I had, and it's eluding me. But,
I would say even like you were talking about Tilted Barn. I mean, not a lot of people, unless you're around, that part, Exeter, Rhode Island, closer to Connecticut, really know about them. Like they get a lot of. I mean, the people around there know a lot about them, but I think they're kind of underappreciated.
They are underappreciated, but again, they don't. they self-distribute. You got to go there, and they're only open on certain times. The accessibility is something that certainly makes that harder. But I mean, they're building a huge barn. They're building a huge building. They're certainly doing good business, and they haven't stepped a beat. I think another one I was thinking of was Schilling. Schilling is very good. I don't know if you would say they're underrated, but they stick to old world styles, lagers. It's their game. They don't try to go anywhere else. They try not to be someone they're not. And I think they make awesome beer. Fantastic.
Fantastic. Yes. I love Mayflower myself. I think they're solid. I love it that they do like those Thanksgiving beers. They do a summer beer that's awesome. Just their regular Pilsners they have. They have a double IPA called Alden, which is actually good. I actually enjoy their IPAs. Their regular IPA, I have a local place that has it fresh on tap all the time. It's just my go-to over there. They don't have a ton, but $6 a pour. It's a nice big 16, 20-ounce pour all day. I'll do that. For myself, I have so many. I think we could do a couple episodes, maybe even bring it up every time. Canned Heat in Fall River, Massachusetts. No, you didn't like them, Kim?
No, I don't know them. I don't know them.
You had them before. I could have sworn.
Oh, Canned Heat. Oh, you
Canned
said
Heat.
I'm sorry. I misheard you.
Love no worries.
Love
yeah,
Canned
so
Heat.
Canned Heat in Fall River. So, Kim's a little far away from me. I'm closer to Fall River. They don't certain styles they're still trying. Their sours they do a nice Pilsner. They call it a Portuguese Pilsner. They're in Fall River, which if you don't know, it's pretty much little Portugal. Big Portuguese population. The Portuguese Pilsner is awesome. They did a collaboration with Vitamin C, which is, another one of the big hitters, which is awesome. Their IPAs are on point. Their stouts are really good. They have a nice, strong brown. So they're doing really well for what they're doing. This little spot in Fall River. Their tap room is cool. It's right on the water. It's got like in walking distance from some cool bars and stuff. So I would say that's definitely one if you're ever in southeastern Mass or closer to Rhode Island, definitely check that out.
I almost picked them, to be honest with you.
Sure. I have so many. I'll bring up another I have the glass right here. Burlington Beer Company. So, you guys talked about Von Trapp. Burlington is semi-distributed a little bit. I find them around here, but they're just so cool. Like you walk in their tap room. I mean, they're again like Von Trapp. They're just in that concentration of Alchemist, Lawson's, Foam. Not close, but Hill Farmstead. They just have this little place. They're trying different stuff. Their stouts, they do like peanut butter and jelly. They do, like this s'mores, all this stuff. Then their IPAs are on point. They do regular, but their tap room has like video games. Like you can play Nintendo 64. You can play SNES. It's just a really cool spot. And when I go up there, every time I go to Vermont, I always check them out because it's pretty much dead in there, which is weird to me. Because, their beer is so good and it's such a cool ambiance. So they're definitely one to check out if you're in Vermont as well.
I feel the same way about Rock Art. I think a lot of Vermont breweries don't get enough love because everyone thinks when they think Vermont, like you just said, Alchemist and Hills, and then these phenomenal breweries get they're pushed to the side like Rock Art. And I was saying this to Chris in the thread. Their Midnight Madness smoked porter, in my opinion, is the best smoked porter I've ever had. It's phenomenal. And I think that they get overlooked all the time, and they make solid beer. Like I said, they might not be, a treehouse and, knocked it out of the park a lot, but some of their beers are absolutely outstanding. And I think they get overlooked a lot.
They're right in the middle of Alchemist and I think Long Trail, which Long Trail is another one, even though they're heavily distributed. They're kind of like kind of like the Harpoon of Vermont almost, I feel.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe them.
That's a good analogy, totally.
Yeah. So,
but just think about how many breweries there are across the U.S. right now, just like that. Like you could go 10 states over, and they're like, "Oh, you'll never miss this or this or this." It's impossible to keep up now. It's ridiculous.
So one other one that I wanted to kind of throw out there is Startline out in Hopkinton. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
It's 5 minutes from the house.
Oh, awesome. I really like them. They're not gonna, they're not gonna win any awards or anything, but I think they make some really good stuff. They make a great red ale. They do a hazelnut like cold brew brown, which is, it sounds a little out there, but it's a fantastic beer. I really like those guys. I think they're most widely distributed. They do a marathon wheat. So every year for the Boston Marathon, they send out a wheat ale that's just kind of like in conjunction with the race. I really like them. And you don't really see too much about them though.
That cold brew was with Red Barn Roasters, wasn't it?
That I'm not sure about. It may have been.
That's a coffee company that started in Hopkinton. I'm almost positive. If it wasn't that one, I'm almost 100%. I'm like 99% positive that they did a collaboration. I never tried it, but it was apparently it was really good.
Yeah, it's a fantastic beer. Like I said, it's definitely a little out there, but it's really good. I'm not too familiar with that area, so I'm not sure of the local places, but yeah, I mean it's a great beer. I highly recommend Start Line for anyone out in that area.
Excellent. Yeah, it looks like we're going to do a live episode from Kim's place. Take a walk over to Starline next time. Yeah, baby, let's do it.
It's a 5-minute drive. It's not a 5-minute walk. Well, yeah, we can do that.
5-minute Uber. That's cool.
Honestly, so what Shank said, like they started off and they were sharing a space with like this.
It's like a farmer's market.
Yeah, and they had phenomenal tomato soup. And people out here got bullshit with them because when they expanded, they kicked that farmer's market out, and like the tomato soup and all these sandwiches left, and like people were up in arms about that out here in Metro West. It doesn't take much, there's not a lot of people out here, but no, they do really good beer. And like it's interesting though that you don't see them very often, but there's Casey's Pub in Holliston will have them on tap, and then Grill 110, if anyone knows, they're a chain here in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
They'll have one on tap in Hopkinton. But outside of that, I've never seen them on tap anywhere outside of those two places in Holliston and Hopkinton. But Shank's right; they do good. They do decent beer. And not a lot of people, unless you're from Metro West, really know about them.
Yeah, I stumbled across them going out to Jack's Abbey one time because they're less than 20 minutes from Jack's Abbey. And I just did the Google search of breweries around there, and I came across them. And yeah, it was when they still had the farmers market there, so it was it was cool to be able to go grab a couple beers, get some some fresh food that was made right there. Incredibly hipster type of thing, but it was awesome.
Nice. All right, guys, we're headed close to 35 minutes, so I think we're gonna end it. But this M43 actually warmed up pretty terribly. Not enjoying it at all.
I mean,
can I tie something into the show though about Chris?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
You got to get in your call when you do it. Like Steve is giving medical advice. You need to, before he gives you the abortion sound, just start talking and don't stop talking.
You can hear me drowning in the toilet, or literally be aborted. You can hear, and you go, "Oh fuck! Come on!"
We gotta call him out on not knowing the difference between the drugs. Today's Thursday, so I know this is gonna drop it every day, but you got to call him out. Call him and call him out the fact that he confused the drug companies and the drugs on the episode today.
Yeah, call him. I've literally called, and I'm pretty sure I named that drug before, Remdesivir, and he tried to correct me, and I was like, "Shut the fuck up, Steve. This is the drug."
Well, you need to really confuse them and just say, "Hey, this is Steve, traveling salesman from Massachusetts." Like, what? And then just go on.
Like the guy from California. The guy from California calls in and does the whole act.
Every time. They love that guy now.
He knows my number. He puts me on hold. He'll hang up on me. He knows it very good. I gotta go.
Google Voice.
Google Voice. Yeah, I'll have to do that. But I mean, I'm not very creative.
What do you guys think? in Steve's mind when he sees that Donald Trump number come up. He's like, "Yeah, I love this." Yes.
I'm just thinking everyone's saying it's Mayo. It's obviously not Mayo. Mayo would be bragging about that if it was actually Mayo.
I
That's
can't
what I
get the
thought for a while that it had to be him. But yeah, you're right. He wouldn't be able to keep from telling people.
No,
It'd be like this is probably dropping in a few days, but it's like 860 or up with his damn Steve Robinson today, motherfucker.
He had me.
He had everybody because he did
He
it
had
so
everybody.
early. Tweeted it. Like
They were getting texts during the show about it. Steve was getting texts like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Imagine if his wife saw that and was like, "Oh my god!" Like they're trying to buy a house or something. What the fuck?
What are you doing?
Carano. Yeah, baby. I made it, Ma.
I said this in Discord. I said if Corrado hadn't blocked everybody, he would have saw that. And then, frantically packing his bag, saying to his wife, "I finally did it! I finally did it!" And he gets down like halfway down 93, and his wife calls and says it's actually fake, and he has to turn around and go back home.
They're gonna hate it. He's in the middle of Quantum Week, and he's like, "Fuck you, Chris! I made it."
Both on him.
Oh, God, that was good though.
Too much.
It was probably one of the better pranks.
It was great.
That was hilarious. And then he was saying he tried one as Blind Mike a few months ago, and nobody gave a fuck. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Or Mike.
I'll have to find it. Yeah,
That just seems so appropriate that again, Mike. People think it's Mike, and he's crying out to people, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I don't care."
Dude, the next good one, which I don't know if he should fake Cullinane and say, "Hey, I'm going to be on the show for the next week." Then we're like, "Yay, Cullinane's back!" That would be a good one too.
He would play into it too, so that could work.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys, great show today, honestly. So cheers till the next KMS Brews.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Enjoy the show and later.
Cheers.